Louis Webster was a Native American man from the Menominee tribe in Wisconsin, and he taught me how to make these flutes. One day when we were making flutes, he looked at me and he said, "Dennis, follow the voice of the flute." Inspired by those words, I've created more than 1,200 flutes over the last 30 years. If you'd like to own one of my flutes, just go to my website at dennishawkartist.com and get yours today. And don't forget, follow the voice of the flute.
Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram.
Hi, I'm Dennis Hawk, and I am the host of Who Am I? I'm this morning, and I'm the host of the Revival. We're working at music and sound and how it affects us on a personal level and on a societal level. The power of music. And today our guest is Dr. Kari Uselman, who's a very good friend of mine. And you work, I'm going to go down the list. You work in holistic health, craniosacral therapist, practices somatic emotional release. Did I get that right this time?
Yes, you
Yeah.
did.
Okay. Quantum biofeedback. You're a recording artist with me,
With you.
which is fun, and stained glass artist, Golden Ray Designs with your dad. And you also sing in a kirtan band.
I do with you.
I know. And what's the name of your agency, and how can people reach you?
It is called Inner Origin LLC, and they can reach me by calling me or through text. And I'm recently switched my business name of 18 years to more align with
Okay,
what I do.
so you
So
have
the
it. You
website's
have.
coming.
Let's start right there. What does that mean, inner origin?
Working with that inner piece of truth of who we are, bringing that back into balance, holistically, mind, body, spirit. Um, and it's a lot of what I have been doing for years. But the name Inner Origin taps into that more purely.
Mm-hmm. And the light of who we are.
Yes.
Yeah. And uncovering all the stuff that keeps us from being.
The limiting patterns.
Yeah.
I work a lot with helping people release those limiting patterns that are not our truth and reconnect with our true nature through energy work, through entrainment, through sound, which is what we do, and frequency. And truly, Dennis, my focus is on helping people remember their wholeness. They do the healing, I hold the space. And when we remember the truth of who we are, it activates our inner gifts, and we then can align with those, and it just nourishes and roots joy and vibrancy and forward movement in life.
Oh, I love that. I was with someone yesterday and we were having a conversation and it sparked a memory in me.
Uh-huh.
And for those who don't know in this audience, that I was a psychotherapist for 25 years. So the work that you do is very familiar to me. And I had a client once that back in the day when you could send somebody off to treatment for 45 days, and she came back and we were doing an affirmation circle. And she was the last one in the circle, and she had her head down, all during the affirmation circle, and she was pretty quiet during the group, the aftercare group. But when it got to her point, she lifted up her shoulders, she looked square in the eyes of everybody in the group. She made sure she had eye contact with everybody, and she said, "My affirmation is that there's absolutely nothing wrong with me, and there never was."
Beautiful.
And when
Beautiful.
I think of inner origin, I think of that person, when you strip away all of the junk. But that takes work. That
It
doesn't just,
does. Right.
happen.
We're so conditioned with everything.
Yeah.
And we're born into a family, into a society where there are very specific beliefs, behaviors, and values. And there's a beautiful piece to that. And sometimes it can be very limiting to our true nature. So, what is that? And how do we move forward in our truth?
Right. And your client profile, just to recap, what would that be?
I work with seekers. I work with people who are aware that they might be stuck. They might not identify it as a pattern, but eventually that comes to the surface. I also work with people who have chronic pain,
Uh,
and typically that chronic pain is an imprinted trauma at a cellular level that needs support in freeing itself because that happened in the past. It's not now. But when the body has an experience that's traumatic and there's no solution, the brain will download it into the cells, into an organ, a gland, for it to express there and resolve, which creates dis-ease. And so, if we can get that up and out, there's more harmony within. And then,
so
mhm,
what you're saying is that uh, but well, you can call it trauma, but or experiences or messages actually get embedded in the cells of a
yes,
human? Okay. All right.
right,
That's
they
I
do.
wanted to make sure that I understood what you're saying. It's like
And
they
they
can.
can get
Okay.
embedded in the cells. Yeah.
Okay. And then your job becomes what?
To
As
remind the
a
cells
therapist.
that it's not their job to resolve an emotion. It's our bodies
I
are.
love that.
Yeah.
Hey there. Uh,
Right, it's kinda like speaking that way and honoring the emotion, the experience, and moving from the story to the wisdom and freeing the body and the biology of the body, so we can function with more ease and harmony.
okay. Let
There's a lot more to it than that, like,
oh
there's environmental toxins and what we eat and our environment, but that's a big piece of it too.
I don't think
Yeah,
we d can underestimate those things. I mean, those are powerful, um, switches or triggers,
they are.
in everyday life, including the news, I'm not saying we should drop out of society. I'm just saying these are things that affect us. It includes, you said that what we eat, with the air we breathe, the people that we surround ourselves with.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that I don't I don't wanna underestimate that, and, I think finding our family and our tribe that's, where people are mutually supportive is so important.
Right.
Um,
I think the listener can certainly relate to some sort of experience where they go in and there's a group of people, and if somebody's not happy, like you don't want to, like, you don't gravitate to that person, you gravitate to the happy person in the room. That's where you want to spend your time. So
well,
that
you know what? I spent a lot of my years gravitating to the people in the room that were negative, and that was because it was very similar to my family of origin, and, it took me a long time to relearn that so that, I would gravitate toward the happy people, but,
interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
because it's familiar, right? It feels
Yeah,
safe.
I love that word, familiar,
Hmm.
like the family,
Right.
and, so we have a tendency to do that, but breaking those patterns and those cycles. Now now let's describe, the tools that you use to bring people. Let's say the client profile that we're talking about is, someone who, has those messages, has, maybe trauma embedded in their cells, maybe is caught in cycles and patterns that they're having trouble
Hmm.
getting out of. Okay, that's the profile. And what would be your objective at the end of realizing we don't live in a perfect world because it's a constant
Right.
process till the day we die. But What would that look like at the other end? What would the goals? Like what's the
So I
vision?
I listen to the goals, right? And people
Okay.
might have a little bit different skew on what they're desiring as an outcome, but typically when people leave a session with me, they're definitely more relaxed and at ease, and they feel a sense of freedom within that is refreshing. I have a lot of my clients say, "Wow, I haven't felt that relaxed in months," or sometimes longer. And and so there's a little bounce in their step when they leave, like they can meet whatever lies ahead, um, with more presence and grace oftentimes. Sometimes what we need to work through is not always joyful, but then we have
Mhm.
joy because of it, because we work through it.
Yeah, I love the images that you just said. They're like the weight is. I'm picturing this. So the client maybe gets up off your table. You use a table, right?
Yep,
Okay, get up off your table, and you can see physically sort of. It's like the relaxation and the brightness,
right.
and
And yeah, I see it, they feel it,
Mhm.
and so when I do cranial work, I do a just it's a really quick assessment, super light touch, and I can feel immediately. It's like they're called vortexes, but I could see where feel actually where there's a twist, and I reassess at the end, and it's just even.
Mm, mm,
It's even once the cells and the fascia, the soft tissue, it's like it's like a sigh, but in this case, the body sighs, and if there's a twist, it untwists,
mm.
whichever way it is, and sometimes it takes a series of sessions depending on, um, the longevity of when something's anchored in and depending on the vulnerability that is allowed during a session because it takes courage for people to allow something to finally leave. They have to feel safe.
Oh, yeah, I was about
Mhm.
I was going down that avenue in my head. It was
Yeah.
like really building trust is important, isn't it?
It's key. It's
And I
absolutely
also heard
key.
something else, and that is personalized goals. You can have kind of a general idea, but the goals really are very personal
Right. It's part of
for
my
you.
intake. It is part of a question I ask every time I see somebody. What would you like to see today? What
Yeah,
is your goal or
yeah.
goals?
I like that. I like what you just said too. What would you like to see today? It's like uh, it's so easy to get caught up in ultimate outcomes, rather than the peace of mind and uh, that's not the word I'm looking for. It's just a total relaxation of about being in today. And
Right. And as my clients share, I reflect back to them and I make sure, I ask, did I get that right? And they
mm,
can say yes or no. So we clarify as we move in to a deeper space of holding.
no, that makes sense to me. Uh,
Mhm.
you the somatic emotional release. Can you describe that to me?
So that relates to when the body hangs on to the emotion of what happened. And I think the most marked example that I've had with a client is I had a client come to see me, 40 years old, and his whole life he thought, when I'm 40, I'm going to die. But he didn't. He's past 40. But when he turned 40, he had severe back pain. So he came to see me, and I never know where I'm going to start until we have a conversation. And I started with biofeedback, I do quantum biofeedback, which reveals and kind of rank orders stress responses in the body, over 15,000 from acute to chronic. And in the top 10 was drowning. And I said, hey,
Wow.
did you ever have a near drowning experience or did somebody you were close to drown? And he said, no. And I'm like, all right. I mean, the device is really accurate for stress responses.
Uh-huh.
And I got him up on my table and we started to do cranial. And when the body goes into what's called a very still space, there's an awareness and a deep reset. And I asked him, I said, what's happening? He said, I'm in the water. I'm like, oh, how old are you? I'm 23. I said, what's happening in the water? I'm being pulled out by the riptide. So we talked to his body and his lumbar spine because that's where all the pain was. And we reminded the tissue that that was a long time ago and it doesn't need to hold the tightness of survival, that he survived. And so all of that softened. And when he got up off my table, the pain was completely gone. And, he came to see me because his option was surgery. And he's like, I don't want to have surgery. And from my lens, the surgery can help people temporarily, but if that emotion is still stuck in the tissue, it holds a tightness. And so it's going to come back. So if
Right.
we can release that, maybe somebody still needs surgery, right? But if we can release that, the outcome has even more longevity, I'll say.
Well, the spine is like dominoes. And if, and I'm not trying to speak as a doctor, this is from personal experience, but, you can have surgery on one part of the spine and the vertebrae, and then it can move right up. So if you don't get
Right.
at what's creating it in the first place, it may reoccur and reoccur and reoccur.
Right. And I just
And
want to note, I am not a medical doctor. I'm a holistic specialist, and I help people. What I can legally say is I help people manage their pain and reduce stress.
I love that. I
Period.
love
Yeah,
that.
and that's I do. I help people reduce their pain and manage their stress and come back into wholeness and balance.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think yeah, that was important.
Yeah.
It's like your niche is here, and
Mhm.
that's what you do. Um, and
Yeah.
so with that client profile, and you've got several healing modalities that you can use. The cranial sacral, the somatic release, uh, quantum biofeedback. I'm really curious about that one. Tell me about that one.
So quantum is the smallest packet of energy,
Hmm.
and I like to relate it to prayer. So when we pray, the message gets through. Maybe not all listeners believe in God, but if you do, the message gets through to God or to the innermost uh, space of your being, and it's heard, and there's no distance. Nuclear plants are quantum, like nothing ever touches, but the signal bounces back and forth. So, uh, somebody in nuclear engineering might say that's not quite right, Carrie, but that's my analogy. But I think prayer is a really good one to understand quantum. There is no distance. There's no distance with quantum.
Okay.
And my device uses a galvanic skin response, and there are straps that go around
Oh,
the ankles and wrists, and that's linked to my software, my device. And within minutes, through the meridians in the body, it will tell me what is stressed. And so, a client like this guy who came in, for example, with back pain, he had no memory of the drowning, but he came in for his back pain. So that was revealed. The body reveals itself, and my device um, is mind, body, spirit. I've been
Mm.
doing that for almost 18 years. That was my uh, beginning. But before that, I um, became a Reiki master teacher. So that really was my indoor. And then when I turned it into a practice, because I was teaching before this
Yeah.
for about 15 years, but I minored in wellness. And so that's what I'm doing now. Uh,
Isn't it beautiful that,
eh,
we don't have to have one career in life?
you're
You
right.
know, I
You
mean,
never know.
you never
It
know.
continues to expand, and I love to learn, Dennis. I love to learn. So
I
I
know you do.
have many different modalities, and I would say I'm a weaver, and I help people remember. And when they're either sitting or on my table, I will bring in sound and frequency. And I know, that's with the revival.
Yep,
That's
we just turned the
yeah,
corner, and
yeah,
it's like, okay, the core of this is how does sound affect, this process, that somebody comes in, they're carrying an emotional package, they're carrying a cognitive package, they're
yeah.
carrying things in their cells, in their bones, in their muscles, in their ligaments, in every part of their body, their internal organs. And how does sound how do you use, I shouldn't say how does sound, I don't want to get that technical, but
Right. So
how do
before
you
I even
use sound?
right, go there, I really
Okay.
invite the listener to, when we listen to a song, there's certain maybe a genre of music or a certain song that can shift the mood instantly, right? Like bring you
Yes.
into a place of calm or like agitation. And what I do is use frequency, actually. Frequency creates a wavelength that creates the sound. So I work in frequency. Yeah.
When we're talking about frequencies, because I know it and you know it, but if you were to just, okay, let's create a kind of box. What the human ear can hear, is, I mean, frequencies can go very broad,
Yes.
but what we can actually hear with our ears is fairly narrow,
Narrow.
and but you're operating both within and outside of that, because our bodies can hear
Yeah.
more than our ears can. And so when you're talking those numbers, you're talking about, from say 0 to 1,000, you're within those parameters of, and like 174 is on the lower range, 432 is on a higher range and is actually a higher pitch uh, than 174. Okay, I just wanted to do my best to kind of explain that.
Correct. And um, when it comes to tuning forks, the highest one or the most close wavelength is the 1185. And
Okay.
the 1185 has profound, like mother energy, divine mother energy. I
Mm.
will say that.
Now, is
Um,
that beyond our hearing range? One
no,
one
it's
eighty five.
not. I brought
Oh,
that
okay.
out here too. Maybe I didn't. The 118, no, you can hear it. You can
Okay.
hear
All
it.
right.
Yeah.
I
So
want.
here are two also in tuning forks. This is 4096, so that's pretty high, and the 4225, and they're both note C, but
Hmm.
these two I use for clearing the space after a client, clearing the room, and I have a friend who does muscle testing kinesiology, and he's like, "Whoa, that really made a difference." But it's a higher pitch, right?
Mhm.
But we can still hear, and it's in the note of C. And sometimes when I'm working with people, I will hear the sound and I will create the sound with my voice. Like a
Ah. Yes.
And when that started coming in, I'm like, "What's happening?" But when I was brave enough to do it, so I've been doing that for probably over a decade, my clients would say, "Whatever that was, Carrie, it helped me so much." Like, it shifted, and that's what led me into doing more and studying more of what I now bring into my practice with frequency therapy. So I'm certified in frequency therapy, and I love it. I love it, and I can do people's personal frequencies throughout their body, and then it's tuned specifically to them.
That's fascinating to me. I mean,
Uh-huh, and to me too, that we can
well,
have
yeah,
that.
I know, and that's why we're
Mm,
exploring this because I think, we've underestimated the power of sound to heal, and, we've always known, that music does something, all of us know that,
right,
and as Paul McCartney said, it's magical, it's frequencies, but we don't know how it works. Well, we're learning how it works, and, I don't think it all has to be proven scientifically in order for it to be used. And, you know, I, I just think that, we're exploring, and I think exploration is important, and also client feedback, you know?
right, and science is catching up, which is
Yes.
beautiful. It's beautiful. They're using a lot of science, in the field of neuroscience,
Yes.
especially with, memory,
Hmm.
Alzheimer's, and they're finding that certain frequencies that create sound is actually supporting enhanced memory and
Yeah.
dissolving plaques.
I think
Mhm.
you and I talked about this, but
Yeah,
I haven't talked about it here. My friend Brenda Patone, who writes for the Harvard Medical School, and she just sent me a whole bunch of articles, and one of them was on that very thing. The
beautiful.
effect of music on dementia, and they would give uh, just a headset and little music thing to patients, and they may have been sitting there slumped over, totally inattentive, and they put them on their ears, and they would light up, and because it was sparking memories, and then become verbal about what life was like when that song was, when they were young and that song was there. So,
Yeah.
we're just starting to explore those things and get the scientific data. To
It
there's
it's yeah, it's
there's a little
beautiful.
bit more money. They got to keep funding Harvard and people, places like that. They're doing the research because we're on to something here that's really important. I,
Right, and even, like, when we think of meditation and different things that support meditation, including music, Joe Dispenza has a beautiful, body of research and team that work with him exploring how we can create shift through breath work and
I
meditation.
was writing that down.
Yeah,
Joe, can you
Joe
can you spell it?
Dispenza,
What's his last?
Dispenza, Joe Dispenza,
All right, and
and he speaks and teaches all over the world now, um, and he formerly was a practicing chiropractor doing during a triathlon, they waved him through on his bike, and he was hit by a truck and flew off and fractured his spine, and, um, he received the news that he would never walk again, and he's like, "That's not happening." And within a very short period of time, he was able to get into a state of alignment with the wholeness of the spine, seeing it, feeling it, and he repaired himself, and so
Mhm.
he walks, and he's
Yeah.
this vibrant, beautiful human that is teaching different ways of holding, but it's up to the individual, and we need to believe, just like Bruce Lipton biology of belief. We
Mhm.
become what we believe. So a great example of that is when you get up in the morning, if you think, "Oh, I'm gonna have a crummy day," you do. If you think,
Yep.
"I'm gonna rock this day," like we are right now. We do. We do.
Absolutely.
So it's
You know,
our
on my,
attitude.
just to underscore that on my, when I get up in the morning, I in my journal, as I do journaling every morning, and I do it a little bit differently than other people. I have a, legal pad, and,
Mhm.
I do my journaling 1 page and throw it away. I don't need it. I don't need to store that. I just need to do it. And, and the first thing says, "Good morning, creator." That's the way I start. And then I say, because it's part of my story, is I use an Ojibwe word, "Mino Gijigat," which means it's a good day.
Beautiful.
And that's the way I start every single day. And it really helps, and no matter what's going on. And I've had some difficult days, but that doesn't mean it's not a good day, because I've learned the most through what the Lakota call otekielo. It is a difficult day,
Mhm.
and that doesn't mean, wait, it's not that. It is difficult. It's not the whole day. It's just difficult. That is a specific thing. But if we approach it with the attitude that it's a good day, no matter what, life is life. It throws us a lot of stuff.
It
Um,
does throw us a lot of stuff, and to just get to that space, it's can be very difficult given what's happening with people or what's happening on the news, and when it comes to things outside of ourselves, people tend to contribute to the fear or choose to contribute to love.
oh,
And so
yeah,
what kind of drop are we in the water? Are we adding a drop of fear or are we adding a drop of love? And each ripple out. And when it comes to personal experiences, people can have these horrific things that they're either living in or have happened to them. And it's like, how can I even identify something that's even joyful anymore? So when that happens, and it could be music, for example, like maybe that starts generating something within, and 528 is the frequency of love. So just having that in the background helps it settle in and soften the vagus nerve so we could have more calm and peace. People can find these on YouTube. And the other suggestion, that seems to be helpful for the people I work with is start paying attention. If you're doing something, you start feeling happy. Like, what is that thing? And can you do more of it? And and sometimes it's just like let's just take a pause here and breathe. Because when we have anxiety, the breath is rapid, right? And that's a waveform. How can we calm that down? And Dennis, with all the work you've done such beautiful work with people.
thank you.
And you know that the breath is a pattern, it's a frequency, and a very simple one is a 4 by 4 breath where we breathe in
Mhm.
for the count of 4, we hold the breath for the count of 4, we exhale for 4, and we pause for 4. And remember a square because square has 4
Yeah, I was going to
sides.
say,
That's
with
an
square
easy
breathing,
one
right?
mostly for people to remember. There are all sorts of patterns in breath work, and there's binaural beats that people can listen to also that help with depression and anxiety. So there's some beautiful tools out there, but when we
Right.
can use our what we have, breath is what we have. Paying attention to joy is something we have. Most people have access to some type of device that can have sound come through it. So, what are you listening to? And even like the Gregorian chants, there are several that use 6 of the solfeggio frequencies, which are all bringing the body back into balance, which is really cool. And those are ancient, right? They're ancient.
Right. All right. Absolutely. You give me beautiful segues, because, I want to kind of move us toward, kirtan and, the Vedic chants. And, I'm not this is just me personally because I come from such a varied background from, from Christian and Black gospel, because I spent 20 years in the inner city to, my wife is Mohican. So around the sacred fires and the drum songs that we did in Sweat Lodge, to, being introduced to Vedic chant and, those songs, that, that do something when we participate. And, and I love Vedic chant because of the fact that everybody becomes part of the band in Kirtan. And you and I have been doing this, and the group is just starting in our area. We just started, what, a year ago, maybe?
Yep.
Yeah, something like that. And so it's just, kind of slowly, uh,
Building.
yeah, slowly building community. And, but the beauty, because I don't know about you, but I notice that you talk about those people getting off the table and that there's a total stress relief. I feel that same thing every time we do a chant and we finish and we drop into what's called the bhav, or that moment of silence at the end of a
Mhm.
chant. And just that feeling of bliss.
Yeah, it's
It
beautiful.
may be momentarily, but it's there.
It
We've
is.
tapped into something that we have, and when we're doing kirtan, it's like it takes us out of our head and into our heart
Into our hearts.
and allows us to feel. Um, but that's me talking about kirtan. What's been your experience as you've been doing it with us and me and the group?
What I know is however I come in, like, maybe it's just like, a little bit of a rushed morning when I leave, just deep grounded openness, and I'm super sensitive, so I can feel like an energy radiating in in my heart center for sure, and that just echoes out into the rest of the week, and we practice on Mondays, and so it, like you say always, Dennis, it just carries forward. And there it's like this magical, um, space of divine flow and
Mm.
love that just fills everything, and as we are feeling that, even if somebody who is in the room is not, it echoes out like that drop of water, and it entrains, and you can't help but catch it. And so if we think of the human, I'll kind of relate that back,
By the way, you just stumbled on one of my favorite words,
well,
entrained.
entrain,
Yeah,
okay.
can you just define that for us? And
So, I think a simple example is if anybody's ever had a little puppy and you're, like, training that little puppy to sit, stay, come, you don't just do it once, you have to do it multiple times. It's like, "Oh, I get it now." Or if
yeah,
we're learning a chant, like, usually if it's me, like, I take a couple times to, like, "Okay, how am I pronouncing this word? Am I doing that right?" So after several times, it's like then it becomes natural, automatic, but at first it's not. So the repetition helps the frequency in this case that we're talking about, sound and frequency,
mhm,
hold. So if we're shifting, um, something in the neural pathways, doing that several times, it finally takes hold. One time is typically not enough. We have a field of energy around our bodies. Um, and I think a nice way to think about that is like if you vision your body surrounded by a giant slinky and things that are not harmonized, like they don't have harmony, they like plunk the slinky strands off. And when we sing and chant, it brings cohesion back and everything is flowing. And that's why we feel better and more joyful because we are harmonized
oh,
then.
that's beautiful, and it's our we become harmonized in our own body as and in the group. That's like there's something that happens in the group as we start to, because we're all coming in, every Monday. It's like, oh, I got caught in traffic. This happened, that happened, and then we all show up, and made it's usually 10:15 because something happened to somebody, but and then we start to get into it, and probably within 30 minutes, there's the whole group is dropped into something, and
Mhm.
it's like dropping into warm water or something, and we feel it, and then we're able to carry that, through the week,
It's
which is
very
beautiful.
nourishing.
And then we take it once a month, and we do it at your house.
We do.
And should I have said that? I think so, but because this is going out to a
Oh,
lot of
we
people.
did.
And by the way, they don't know where
Yeah.
you live, so we've started doing house concerts, and then we'll move to public probably in January. But thank you for hosting,
You're
and
welcome. My pleasure.
yeah, and it's been a beautiful experience, and it's very warm, because it's intimate, and we actually get to know everybody in the room,
We do.
and
Yeah.
that I love because it's building community, and I love what you said about the kind of ripple effect of putting love out there. Um, the world. I just read a piece from Joseph Campbell last night before I went to bed, and he was talking about the ability. Part of happiness is the ability to accept the world on the world's terms. You know, we're w- we're never going to change the world, but we have a role in the world, whatever that role is, to do our part in in bringing peace or love or whatever it is. But we just do it, not, and like the Bhagavad Gita, not looking for the results or not looking for but we get up every day and we do our part to bring love, peace, compassion, to the universe, and that's it.
Right. And we need to be conscious that we have a choice in that type of contribution.
Mm. Yes.
And
Yes.
then we can choose to be that drop of love versus the drop of fear.
Yeah.
Because the drop of fear is just like almost on autopilot until we stop and say, oh, I don't want to contribute to that which I don't align with.
Mm.
I want to align with peace and harmony and love. So how can I do that?
Yep. Yep.
And when we just have the conscious thought, it creates the frequency. And then if we play 528 in the background, there it is in our whole field. And then if we put on a kirtan chant, or
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
different favorite song that makes us feel
Yeah.
joy, love, happy, whatever that is, it
Well,
truly shifts the space.
I love the way you juxtaposed love and fear instead of love and hate. Because I think it's a better contrast.
Mhm.
Um, you know, casting out fear and bringing in
Uh, I
love.
think of the yin yang,
Hmm.
love, fear, light, dark.
Yeah.
Um, Fear, it's hard for I don't really like saying the word HATE, but that comes out of fear,
Yes, it
right?
does. Yes, it does. Yeah.
Fear is the soil for
Hmm.
hatred.
It is.
Um,
Well,
yeah,
I'll tell you what. I, I I love the work that you're doing, and I love the work that we're doing together. And I love the kirtan community, and I'm going to be doing more of these just so that everybody knows. I would bring this one to a conclusion, but thank you, Carrie, and we'll put your contact info because you can also work remotely. So if
I
somebody,
do.
yeah, you don't have to be on her table to get to do the work. So
No, I do
we will put your
50% of my
contact.
work is like this.
Yeah,
It is,
so
because we're quantum.
we'll
Yeah,
put your contact info out there
thank you.
so that you have that. And we'll be back doing more of these, a lot more to come. I've got, oh gosh, about half a dozen interviews already lined up throughout the country. And no, throughout the world, actually. We've got kind of a global thing moving. And so this is going to be exciting. So I appreciate you, as you always say to me. I appreciate you, Dennis. And it's
I
like, feel,
do appreciate you, Dennis, and I appreciate this work you're doing to create more consciousness for peace and love in community and across the globe. And that's really what you're doing. And as we remember this inner light that we are, it helps your mission, right? And it helps each individual come into a place of more wholeness. And when we embody that, it's easier to be that acupuncture point of light wherever we are. We don't have to be here or there. It's just exactly where we are. It's the feeling state. That's the drop. We can have a drop in any part of water, right? And it still
Mhm.
creates a ripple.
Yes.
So it's the drop that matters, not the placement of the drop, because it does echo to where it's needed.
Well, and Carrie, thank you for the work that you're doing.
Yeah,
It's good. It's powerful. The more that I get to know about it, the more it excites me. I understand the fulfillment of what you're doing
thank
because
you.
I did it for 20 some years. But it's just wonderful. So thank you for being my friend and for all the work that we're doing together. And we're going to sign off now, but
We are.
and so I'll say a beautiful namaste.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis, which
See?
means if the listener doesn't know that the beautiful light in me honors and bows to the beautiful light in you,
And
right?
also for those who don't know, we have some music out there on Spotify.
We do.
Carrie and I do. So it's Kari Uselman and Dennis Hawk on Spotify. You can find us there.
And Apple
Oh,
Music too, right? There are
yeah,
different platforms
yeah.
that it's
They're
on.
all on all the platforms. We're there.
Yeah.
Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai